Support for 100 Watts and a Wire is provided by ICOM. The great outdoors are calling. Get outside and under the stars with one of ICOM's ultimate SDR transceivers. The real HF fun starts here. Check out the 705, your perfect QRP companion, or the 9700. This radio brings direct sampling to the UHF VHF world. Plus, the 7300, the radio that changed the way entry-level HF is designed. Visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on all ICOM radios.
And now, from Grid Square Echo Mike 48, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
Well, hello, and welcome to the show. My name is Christian, if we have not met. My call sign is Kilo Zero Sierra Tango Hotel. It's great to have you here. Today we're going to be talking about the top 3 portable accessories. Now, not picked by me, your boy, but picked by members of the ham radio community. And joined this morning by Uncle Steve from the great state of Washington. Everybody's Elmer is here. Steve, W7UDI. How you doing this morning, sir?
Doing good. It's a great day here in the Northwest.
Good deal. Good deal. We put the word out there. We've got a big portable thing happening. So we're going to be, in about 5 weeks from now, we're going to be out there doing it. I mean, I hope to be out there doing it and testing and tinkering. And I'm talking about the 100 Watts and a Wire tune-up. So we've got to focus on what's happening with portable operations. Are you going to be any closer this year to getting yourself out there, Steve?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's the goal for this year is get out there, get portable. Got the rig, got the, I just need to deal with the power situation and then looking forward to the list of accessories that I need to add to the portable setup. I have the mast, I got the antennas, got the coax. Now I just need the goods.
Yeah, well, we've got to get you the goods. We'll get you the goods. Make a list of the goods that you need, and we'll figure out how to get portable. Because about 5 weeks, we got in June 11th through the 13th, we're gonna get it on. We're gonna do it. We're gonna, so to speak. But anyway, this week I put the call out there to our community to talk a little about your top portable accessories, and this is going beyond your radio. Your antenna, these things that need to get you on the air. What do you pick? And lots of people got to see the message. That's good. Over 3,000 people, almost 4,000 people. And I figured we'd take some time to go through. And this is what I mean. Like Bill says, compass, multi-tool, and a first aid kit. First aid kit covers a bunch there, doesn't it, Steve?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That's just, boo-boo kits and things like that. That's perfect. Yeah, that's always good to have.
Now, Thomas... Well, yeah, I mean, you never know. I keep one in my truck, and that's something that we overlook, I've got 2. I keep one in a bag that kind of runs with me, and then there's one in the truck just in case. And you can get those in. They can be really fancy, really, sophisticated. They're surgical kits, and I don't want to perform a surgery on myself. I want to stop the bleeding.
First aid supplies is just good enough. Kind of think of it as a boo-boo kit.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we've got an experienced POTA operator here chiming in with us. That's Thomas. A roll of toilet paper. Now, a roll of toilet paper is going to go a long way. You don't want to have to be taking care of business with the leaves, unless you know what you're doing out there. That might be a really important.
Pine cones and a few other
pine cones. Pine cones and branches.
Corn cobs,
Goodnick calls a timeout here. No, Goodnick calls a timeout here. I'm a little concerned about the direction of this. Anytime
it's
we're
already going down the crapper.
This is bad. I'm going to call a timeout here. I need to call Karen. Karen, what is happening? Can you just help me?
Yeah, I've got a goal to get on portable this year myself, and when this broadcast is over, I'm going to check my yard for pine cones.
I mean, who wipes with a pine cone and a tree branch?
I got a bunch. I can send it to you.
This is not.
Thank you. I'm ready. I'm ready to get out there and go portable. I've been looking at all the equipment I need, and pine
my
cones were
God.
not on my list. So
As long as I'm not the only one here. I thought pine cones.
green ones, the soft ones.
The ones
not-
that are
not the-
but
not-
still go with the grain.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks
Go with the green. Go.
Okay. Oh my God. I think I should leave. I think this is the part of the show where I gotta go. Another pun. This is ridiculous. Sorry, guys. But hey, what are you gonna do? Let's get back to some serious business here. More puns. Everything has to be about the duty. But thank you,
Oh, yeah.
Thomas, for starting that off. Now we know a little bit more about Steve than we knew just 3 minutes ago.
Or character.
God help us. Yeah, or character. Thank you, Paul. Did not need to know that pine cones was an acceptable thing. All right, so
Hey,
look,
you
that
gotta
we
do
got
what
a
you gotta
100 watts and a wire coffee mug. That seems a little excessive, but being portable, that's very cool. Swiss Army knife. Can't. I would say almost every list I would do, whether it's a everyday carry list, is gonna have. Look at this. It's so close to me. A Swiss Army knife. Like, not even kidding. This is not the one. It's not like the Frontline one. But this one is a really good little one to just keep in your pocket. Like, you think I'm kidding. Here's the other one. The multi-tool, you know.
Yep, the
Multi-tool,
Leatherman,
I mean,
that's-
you pull out a Leatherman, you got it. It's a compromise. But you do have something there should you need. Do you carry a multi-tool? I know you're a knife guy, Steve, and I'm a knife guy too, but
Yes.
just sitting here on the desk because it's next to my wallet, these are things that just kind of roll with me just in case. Show me what you're working with. Look at this. Beautiful one. Styled out. And he's home. He's home. Oh, you know what I'm saying? So he's home, and it becomes a thing that you carry. It's part of your...
Yeah.
It's just part of your deal. He's home.
And then for work, I carry a Leatherman just because,
Yeah.
every now and then you use it. But the Leatherman's always good to have. And just basic tools, just a simple toolkit is another thing you want to add to your portable collection.
Yeah. All right. Very good. A couple came in for a paracord. That's always a good. Having a little bit of cordage is always good. You can do so much with it. Some people, get that full tang. Is that what it's called? The full tang, and they'll wrap a paracord around like a naked knife there and make it so they have it. Some people wear necklaces or bracelets that have a little bit of paracord in them. From Twitter, I think that's Denise. I'm not really sure. But again, another Leatherman, a little coax wrap. We've got more there. We've got rope, stakes, mallet, and a fire starting kit. So if you plan on being out, say you're camping overnight or something like that, then you've got that with you. Here's one that's very interesting here by Johnny Brown. He wants to take a headset, his key, and weed.
Nice.
So, okay, Johnny, that's all right. That's
He's
fine.
going to get into his... Yeah, man. We're going to have the weed. Yeah.
We're gonna make a lot of contacts, dude, for sure. I'm gonna hear them
That's
all.
the way to-
I'm gonna hear them.
Yeah, that helps on pulling off the call signs.
And he's got his key. I wonder if he's faster on the key. Could be proficient.
Could
little
be,
little
yeah.
weed and a little bit of. Yeah, this show is
Hey.
gonna get yanked right off. We got pine cone pooping, and we got headsets, keys, and weed. Sounds great. That's fine.
So
Welcome to
real good.
a vehicle. Let's see. A wheelbarrow in the back of the yard car for distance operation. Oh, I see. Like a wheelbarrow to move your
To
stuff
help,
around.
move things around. Yes.
That's a good idea. That's a big one. It's a big thing to be putting in the back of your rig, but that's okay. That's okay. It makes sense to get around. Little cart. I've got a little four-wheel cart that I can push around, but it gets a little tricky if you get into the bumpier side of town. What we got here? We got waterproof notepads, pens for logging and taking notes. Very good. There's our friend Rhea and 2RJ. Some car cord, cigarette lighter adapter, first aid kit, multi-tool. We're getting a little bit of a carryover in what we're doing. Oh, yeah. Timeout. Timeout is called on the field. Look at this.
Time out on the field.
Kids
Here's my
take
grandson.
priority. Kids take priority. Hey, buddy. Look at that. That is my favorite thing so far.
Hey, look right up there. Look right up there. See? You see
Hey.
yourself?
Look at you.
All right. got
Hey.
visited by the grandson.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's
Okay.
great. Beautiful.
Sorry for the All righty.
All right. Very good. I love that. We'll stop the show almost all the time to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
David Stearns, he's another one that takes toilet paper. People in the first world, Steve, use this thing called paper. Comes on a roll. The roll itself actually could be used over, say, a pine cone or a shell or glass or whatever it was.
You need 3 seashells and you're good to go.
Jeez, we're not mixing up salsa here. We're good grief. Okay. Mike says, spare 100 foot of coax. That's good. I carry a little extra coax, too. I got my coax broken into 25-foot lengths. My push-up mast, and I'm talking about when I go portable, I take my truck. And if I'm driving there, that's kind of how I'm going portable with it. But my mast is 25 feet, so I'll take a couple of lengths to string together a little bit. The weather gets bad or one goes bad or something like that. But you'll be carrying a little extra coax. And what kind of coax would you be carrying, Steve?
I would probably carry RG8X just because it's lightweight. I would stay away. I mean, you can get away with RG58, but the problem becomes is if you get too long of a run, especially like on 10 or 12 meters, you're going to have too much loss in the cable. A good 100+ foot run of RG58 at 10 meters, you're going to lose almost half your signal. Okay, so if your radio is putting out 100 watts, you're going to have maybe 50 watts at the end of the coax. So you're going to lose half your signal just going down the coax. So RG8X, keep your run short, but in some cases you have to run a little longer. But I just see that as more as space saving and weight going with 8X. 213.8, if you got the space and you're not hiking up to a hilltop or any place else, then you could probably get away with a bigger, heavier cable. But we want to make it easy. You don't want to make it into a grind. It's you're not setting up a 75-pound rucksack and trying to haul all your gear up to the out a couple miles from the parking lot.
Right.
So
yeah, and I think connectors, because I take 25 feet sections, having those connectors to marry those two together if needed, that's like a must for me. I have a little bag. It's a little leatherette bag that I got my Heil microphone in. I don't know if he still does that, but they're perfect. After the microphone is placed, these little leatherette type bags, I got a nice zipper, and I pack it full of little odds and ends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
and
little
extra,
bags.
Just get extra stuff, extra barrels, extra adapters and things like that. If you need, say, 2, pack 3 or 4, just so, because things get lost or misplaced, and this way, or barrels can have problems. And sometimes it's just like, hey, something's wrong with this thing, and just swap it out, and now you're back in business. So having a few extras can make a bad day. It can save you from a bad day.
Yeah, because I know folks that have had to turn around and go back and get coax because they forgot the coax. And, you start off thinking, I'm going to take everything. And then I did. I took way too much. I have way too much. And then, but when you don't have enough, so it's kind of, this is just a practice in what is the community taking out there. And we've got another POTA activator coming up here. Let me see. I think I missed hers. Where did she go? Amy. There's Amy. So she's got pole line, notepad, pencil. She's out there doing a lot of Parks on the Air stuff. She's on the mountain, so water's a big one, and it comes up several times. We may not get to see all these before we go and do our next segment. But water is a huge, huge thing, guys. And years ago, we had a friend of ours take us on an operation, a soda operation, audio, back when we were doing audio only. And I think it was about a 5 mile, I think he went 5 miles in roughly, didn't have enough water, and almost didn't make it back. And it was water-based physical problem. He had gone too far, overestimated his ease of this, and his body at some point on the way back almost shut him down. And he finally did make it back to the parking lot, and he had to go, and he was describing, this fail. He considered it a fail, but it was his body's need for water that he exerted himself in this mountain or summit.
Yeah.
So
he got dehydrated.
Totally dehydrated and almost needed a rescue out there where he was. He was embarrassed by it, and I was like, you shouldn't be embarrassed. You're actually teaching people, you know, his firsthand. He didn't expect this to happen, but he had like a, you know, just a one bottle of whatever, and the sun got him and halfway through it. So take your water, folks.
Take your water, and if you can take some electrolyte supplements, there's a great little product called Squinchers. They're little packets that you can put in a 12, 16-ounce bottle of water, shake it up. It's kind of like Gatorade.
Is that what you give to people that you might find being a firefighter out there that may be dehydrated? Do you guys carry things to help people with that sort of thing?
We carry it for ourselves, and so typically we'll have one Squincher and 3 or 4 bottles of water in between, because you can get too much of a good thing, and so it's just electrolyte replenishment.
Got it.
But but for someone water, always water. But we'll let the medical professionals take care of.
Yeah, we don't think about water. Water becomes like a secondhand thing. It probably should be the top of our list. Here's another one: antenna analyzer logging software on a device. Now this is a little more sophisticated here. I would take an analyzer, and I do. I don't know if it would be in my top 3, but I totally understand it. It's with me. It's not in my top 3, just based on, because I know what my antennas can do, you know. And if there's a problem, something's failed. But I get it, and I carry it. It's just probably not my top 3. Go ahead, Steve. What were you saying?
It all depends on, you know, when you're operating portable. Are you operating portable out of the vehicle, or are you packing out to a portable site? So that's and typically if you're doing this over and over again, you're going to minimize things, and you're already going to have an antenna system that works. I like the idea, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think the idea of having the analyzer with you is great if you're trying different antennas and things like that. But if you got something that's been working working fine, that's just added weight and that you got to carry. But if you're setting up in a parking lot or in a campground or someplace that you're next to your vehicle, then by all means, go for it.
And this is not a definitive list. You know, this is a list of what do you think? And I know people fired off responses. That's because that's what we do. We go, I'll say. But yeah, an analyzer's there with me for sure. And the trip in the top, that would depend. But I understand. I ain't mad at you. It's just it's a think piece here. That's all we're doing here. We'll do a few more, and then we'll head off. And
I like the voltmeter from Randy. That's a good piece of test gear. Always have that, because
lantern. Okay, he's got a whole list here. Look, he goes down to 9. Lawn chair. We'll take your first 3.
5-gallon bucket with padded seat. Yeah, that could work for many things. Back to the beginning.
Yeah, you carry
you can put
your pine cone.
Yep, there you go.
Your bucket. Just, you know, word to the wise. I would not stick a pine cone in there, but in the bucket, yes, on yourself.
Number 9 should be number 1, the lawn chair, and you got to have good seat, something comfortable to sit down on, and then you can sit there and go from there. Hotspot, cell phone, backup batteries, that's good.
Pencil, paper.
Beer and ice. There we go. Now we're talking, PJ.
Beer and ice. Now. Whatever happens, you're going to be okay. You got beer and ice. Cooler, ice snacks, water and snacks. Yep. That's, I think water's got to get up in that top 3. Analyzer, mass rigging, connectors. Let's see, we've got water. Antennas, he carries at least 3. I feel you there, brother. I'm holding at least a couple of good ones that have been tested a lot. Bungees, batteries, keys, notebooks.
Trusty HT radio in case. Yep, that's a good one. Some backup there.
Here's a friend of ours that doesn't know how to count either. Edwin here. I don't know. It's another. He's so close to the red light district in Amsterdam that he's like, let me tell you my top 3: tarp, thermos, pegs, seal bags, backup feed line, power line. So, but he is also a very experienced soda operator there. But stretching out history a little bit. Joe,
and if you're hiking out to a place, then you might want to think about. I know we don't think about this. We're just only going to go out for a day, but you should probably factor in that. If I have to spend the night at a site, where you hiked out, say a couple miles from where you're at. Say something happened, you twisted an ankle, and it was kind of getting dark. And is there a way to spend the night and have some provisions there? So
Yeah.
It to each its own. I mean, but I kind of look at that way also. Is that in my job, I carry a backpack in my work truck that has provisions that if I have to spend the night someplace, on a mountaintop, or I'm coming off of a mountaintop or out in the backwoods and something happens and I can't get out, at least I got shelter and I got food and water, and at least spend the night in the truck or around the truck there, or at a radio site. So I always kind of think that way, so go from there.
We have to take a break here. We'll come back with another segment. We're going to talk Hour 73 and how this may tie into your portable operations and how you do all that sort of stuff. Put your comments below the video. Because I do the pre-roll now, I end up losing my chat because nobody wants to sit through that dancing. This thing was kind of referred to as a back scratch. I thought it was like maybe a towel dry. It's just all weird. So it leaves us. So put down your comments in the comments section of the video, and they will maintain and stay. Stick around. Steve's headed to the chat to catch up with you guys and see what you're buzzing about. We'll come back and we'll talk to Don in Hour 73 next.
Whether you say 7.3 or 73, even 73s, we're still 100 watts and a wire.
Brothers and sisters, let's talk about the 100-watt ID. Very easy to get. None of this costs you a thing. But it is fun to have your own, and here's how you get it. Visit 100wattsandawire.com. Click the Gathering tab. Here you give us your name, your call sign, and your email address. Very simply put, an app will sequentially issue your ID, and a very busy human will send you that ID through the email. Then you can use it during our nets and operating events, share it with your friends, do whatever you like, but that is how you get it. Visit 100wattsandawire.com and click the Gathering page. Now let's get back to the show. We're wondering what in the world is happening with my last spot, but everything's good. We're going to bring in our friend Don to visit with us now and talk about Hour 73. Hour 73, we are trying to help people become more self-reliant, more self-sufficient. And there's my friend Don right there. Oh, that is not Don right there at all. That is Steve. What's happening there? There we go. Hey, Don. Good morning to you, sir. Let me get you off the mute there. Oh, you're fine. You're doing all right. And my brother from Baltimore right there. What's new with you? I know you have been listening here to our portable setup and our discussion. What are you thinking so far about how preparing for the next hour right after Hour 72, how portable operations work with Hour 73?
Yeah, I think there were some great points made today. I enjoyed every bit of the conversation. The list of three's tough. That's a tough ask of people to limit it to three things. But I think if you are looking at a portable operation, you can set the stage for when you need to leave the house for anything. So I think you saw some of the responses weren't just radio-related items and things that people needed, but the good introspective look, like, hey, what if I have to camp out for a while? What are some of the things that I'm going to need?
Yeah, I think we're seeing some reoccurring situations there, and water is so important. We've talked about this actually on the show before, how important water is when you need it, how many great things that you can do with it. A knife may be the most important tool ever made in history. That's one of my opinions. Just having a knife is really important. What would you do? What would you do out there? I mean, not just portable, but if you had to pick, I know the list is long, but what makes your top three?
Well, that's a great question. So I think human needs are going to take over for radio needs. I'm listening to some of the radio stuff that folks would bring along, and I'd love to have all of it. And I think it gets back to that big fat, it depends. Like, what are you doing? Where are you going? How do you predict what's going to happen? So water, or the ability to collect water, is going to be top of my list. So if I'm stuck for a couple days, that's a lot of water to bring. And you have to realize that you might have to be responsible to collect water in an alternative manner. So whether you're collecting rainwater, you have a life straw or something like that, and you find a stream, shelter and heat. So I'm going to go with water, shelter, and heat as my top three, because that's going to get you far in life. You can go a little bit longer than you need to not eating, but if you freeze to death or you're not drinking water, you're going to be in a really hard way.
So we're breaking away from that portable radio aspect, going out for a day, maybe an overnight camp. So we should probably extend it a little bit now. So we've got your basics. You're talking about your basics. Tools. We could talk about tools out there. I talked about a knife. We see a lot of multi-tools coming up, even in the portable radio side. Let's expand your list a little bit better and say you need to mobilize. You need to get out. You and your family are safe but moving out. What are you thinking about after your first layer?
Yeah, so that's another good question. So, and I think Steve might have said this towards the end of your conversation. One thing you have to carefully balance in all of this is weight. It sounds great to have all this stuff in the woods or wherever you're going to escape whatever it is that you're escaping, but you got to get it there. And people underestimate just how heavy even a 40 or 50 pound bag is on your shoulders if you're humping through the woods or over uneven terrain. So, this is one of those things where you would love to have the fanciest of gear. That might not always be the case for all of us. So you can do a lot with a tarp and paracord. You can do a lot with some modest tools, whether it be that multi-tool, whether it be a really good knife that you can use for a few different things. And look, depending on where you go or what you're fleeing from, you might need to take a firearm. So if you're hunting in the woods, they have some of those scout rifles, those 22 scout rifles that break down and pack easy. The caveat there is, be cognizant of what the laws are that allow you to do these things. But if I have the tools, say that tarp, that shelter, I'd like to take a little paracord and mule tape. If you're familiar with mule tape that electricians use to pull wire through conduits, some of it's rated for like 2,500, 4,000 pounds of pressure. So you can do a lot lashing wood together, building yourself informal structures. So these are some of my basics. There's some food, albeit not the best tasting, that you can pack if you need to get through a couple days. So I think there's some options. Again, it depends where you are, knowing what your hazards are and knowing what you have to protect yourself against. 75 degrees in the woods is cake compared to 35 degrees in the woods. So it's all a matter of where you are and what time of year.
And you and I come from cities. We're from a city. Oops, man, I got the wrong assignment happening on that one. We come from the city, so you have to kind of look at things a little bit differently. In your city environment, do you suggest people put together a bag and have the bag sitting at the door, or having a bag in the truck based on the scenario you're in? It could be a lot of fuss to put multiple bags together, but I think you and I both know people who do this sort of thing, depending on where they're going. But say you're packing out, and you're not expecting anything strange to happen today, but being prepared. Do you pack this bag and just have this bag? And if you do, what of the things that you mentioned are the necessities?
So I think you can do both. So to answer the first question, sure, you can do both. And I think depending on your vehicle, that gives you a little bit more latitude in terms of what you can pack and how. Arguably, folks look at anything they put in a vehicle as what they're using to get home. And then that bag sitting at the front door is what you need to do if you leave home. I just saw a comment that does my camper count as a go box? And hey, if you have it and you can pack that thing chock full of everything you need, I'm all for it. But in terms of making sure that you can get home, I think that's a little bit of a lighter bag, right? So what you're putting in your car gets you home. potentially. So if you're looking at, I don't want to say skimping, but if you're looking at going light, maybe this is the case. So I might throw a tarp in there, some paracord, some basic tools, perhaps a bottle or two of water, maybe a freeze-dried meal or something like that, and the ability to start a fire. That should get me home. But then if I'm looking at leaving the house, there are a whole other set of considerations, especially if I'm taking my family. And I think that's where we can get creative. I think it was Marty made the comment that in terms of radio, he was packing everything radio related and then leaving everything else to his wife. And, there's something to be said about that in terms of utilizing your family. So I'm not going to put a 40-pound bag on my 8-year-old, but some of the lighter food, some of the tarps, some of the cordage, some of the clothes that he might need, I can pack with him. I can do the same with my daughter. And then I can split the load, the campsite load, if you will, between my wife and I in terms of distributing the gear evenly so that we both are lifting a little lighter, but then carrying out what we need. And then the one other thing I'd probably throw in that is, there's a great discussion about having copies of everything that's important document-wise related to your house, especially if you're coming back. So whether it's a copy of the deed, any of your bank statements or credit card information that you need, that you can take, heat seal it in a bag or something like that, put it together and you can take with you. There's a lot you can do. And obviously, since you're asking me my wish list, I'm throwing radio-related supplies there too. I'm going to have the ability to set up a station wherever I go and to operate, or at least to listen, so I know what's going on.
Let me ask you one more question, because we mentioned family, and I know you've got a ball game to get to and cheer, and I hope you've made a sign that your son, got his average and all these other great things. And then we'll say goodbye. But does it take a disaster, pardon me, and living through a disaster to actually push you to doing things like this on an everyday? Because I'm guilty myself of saying, I'm just running into town, I'll be back. Kids are trying to kiss you goodbye and you're like, baby, I'm just going to go get, and you don't think that way. Does it take something like that? How do you get over the hurdle? Because that's a personal obstacle that I need to get over, where I'm going, I'll be fine, I'll be right back. But you never know. Right? Maybe chances are good that's going to normally happen, and up to this point it has. What gets you over the hump to get just a simple bag packed and ready, just in case?
Yeah, it's another great question there, Christian. I recently, so the start of the pandemic was kind of that kick in the butt for me when I realized how scarce some things were in the grocery stores. And, I'd like to say that we are pretty prepared here. Certainly not as prepared as everyone, but I'm comfortable that we could make it for several months. But the reality is that when you're used to being able to take that trip to the store and go snag what you need, it's comfortable. If you get a chance, so whether it's some of the CERT training or even the more extreme training, I did a weekend survival school down on the Eastern Shore. And it was relatively informal. At no time did I really have to worry about my well-being, but I learned to get uncomfortable where I was sleeping, looking for food, looking for water. And I think once you're uncomfortable that first time and it puts that little scare into you, it's that impetus to move forward. You can put this into practice. You can do this stuff for a field day. You can do this stuff for a weekend in the woods. It doesn't have to be disaster related. But you have to look at, for one, how do I get out and get somewhere and protect myself and then start meeting my basic needs for a couple days? And then secondly, how do I gain the skill set if I need to be out here for several weeks or longer? And those are the things that would apply equally at home. So if we lost power here today, and let's just say we lost it for a long time, and the traditional grocery store routine didn't work for us anymore, like, how am I heating my food? How am I capturing my food? Those are the type of skills that you bring in. but we can do it, and I think you can fold it into everything you do in day-to-day life. One of the funniest things, and I'll leave this as, I guess, my parting shot. I'm a firm believer of testing your gear and making sure that you're comfortable with your gear. And I've seen folks show up to events like this and they've got a shiny new backpack with shiny new gear that's never been touched. And if you don't know, or if you don't have the confidence that that stuff's going to work for you, then you're going to find out the hard way if it's a true emergency. So it's not only accumulating what you need, but it's putting it into practice and seeing how you can do.
We have got to have a conversation soon about how... Oh, we got a little bit of something coming back at me there. I don't know what that is, but we'll just keep going. Talking about buying stuff. Can we do that in the coming weeks about the traps of buying gear? Because you just mentioned it. People don't use it. They haven't tried it. They've got all this stuff that just parks there. We got to talk about that because I know that's one of your things.
I'd love to. I think someone made the comment earlier. They made a comment about bringing a compass. And it's the simplest piece of gear you can have, but you'd be surprised how many people don't know how to navigate or make their way through the woods. And I think someone might have just made a comment about it, quite frankly. Where is it? I don't want to spend time looking through the list, but someone was talking about how many people have been rescued so close to their house. And part of that is they don't understand how to navigate terrain. They don't understand, well, I shouldn't say don't understand. Maybe they're less practiced in navigating, using a compass, using the signs of nature that tell you which way is north, south, east, and west. So there are certainly a lot of aspects to this. And I'm curious to see, these comments have been great. I'm curious to see what folks are doing on their own as well. We're
going to break this piece off, and it goes into a playlist for Hour 73. So if you're into preparedness and self-sufficiency, look for that on the 100 Watts in a Wire YouTube channel, and put your comments below the video. The chat is great. We'll be able to read it for a while, but the one thing that stays are your comments, and then we can bring it back and talk about other things that you're interested in. Don, good luck today with the game. I hope he does well, and I hope he wears number 8, and you know why. Sometimes that might be a little weird. He might have to wear a different number because that one's kind of like almost a religious experiment in Baltimore.
It is. I think they gave him 7. Close enough, right?
7's great. That's my number. That's what I wear. Just because 8 would be, you got to be careful with that. It's a sacred number. If you're from Baltimore and maybe some other places. Thank you, brother. We'll catch up again real soon. Have a great day.
Yep. Chat soon.
All right.
Take care.
Take care. All right. Now it's that time. It's that time for us to get together with our friends from Amateur Radio Newsline. My thanks to Don for coming in and hanging out and giving us his expertise. Now we're going to take a couple of news stories with more friends. Guys, I got to ask you, what's on your list? We'll start ladies first. Your top 3 portable things. I know, Karen, it's on your bucket list of what you've heard and what you read, minus your radio, say the coax and the antenna and the battery. What would be the things that you would take? Uh-oh, I'm sorry. Let's start over there. Go ahead. Tell me.
Then you didn't hear me say pine cone, okay?
No.
No. I think the compass is a great idea. I think the compass is a wonderful idea. Probably some orienteering training if I'm going into deep woods for sure. Something folks have not mentioned, which I would like to say is a top priority: tall, hard boots. You're in the woods. Snakes. Say no more. You really need to protect yourself from the knees down because snakes are out there. I think the other thing I might bring, even though there would probably not be any cell service, is my smartphone. You may recall the story we had, was it last week?
I think so.
We talked about the dramatic rescue of this fellow who clearly could have benefited from this program today. He went hiking and ended up spending the night on the mountaintop and was rescued only because with the dying battery in his cell phone, he snapped a photo of himself standing, and a Ben Quo in California matched the topography to some satellite photos. So don't overlook the cell phone. It's true when all else fails, ham radio, but sometimes a cell phone doesn't hurt. So I would bring those three, but definitely the boots. I respect critters.
Yeah, good deal. Paul, I know it's on your list to eventually do portable operation. Of what you've read and what you've experienced over 40 years, what are you taking out there? Oh, dear. There you go.
Okay. I've never really been an outdoorsy kind of person, so although doing some portable operating sounds like fun, and I've got some of it, I don't really have a radio that's easy to throw in the car. But our club is going to be doing field day this year, so we were just talking about that last night in our meeting about all the things we need to start planning to bring out to the field day site. So, but yeah, I mean, regardless of what tech you bring, whether or not that's all there, personal stuff, taking, for your health and safety is key, because if something happens to you and you don't get back, it doesn't really matter whether or not you made contacts. There was some talk earlier about that guy who went out hiking and without enough water and really was in a bad way. A few years back, one of the IndyCar drivers that I'm a fan of, Pippa Mann, was at the Indy 500, and her drink system in the car broke down about a third of the way into the race. So she had to finish the 500 without being able to get the water during the race, and she was in really bad shape for like 3-4 weeks after that because of dehydration. So I mean, that's a serious thing to consider, is just make sure you've got plenty of water or whatever with you. And really, water, maybe something with electrolytes, is because bringing a case of beer with you is not the same.
Not the same. No, it's nice to have that as extra. Got to get us rolling here, because I know Karen's got an important date and a time schedule this morning. We do 2 stories here every week, one that hits the headlines and one that may not have hit the headline. Karen, what do you have to kick us off this morning?
Well, we always respect our silent keys, and we always like to talk about them. This particular story is one I will probably trot out every now and again when people ask me why ham radio is so wonderful. This is a silent key. Ted Trowell, G2HKU, died at the age of 98. There he is 2 years ago with his buddy Bill Maxon, N4AR, an American surgeon who came to see him 2 years ago to present an honor that was from the First Class Radio Operators Club, which is a big deal. Now, what's important about these two guys is that they're friends. And what you're looking at here is only the second eyeball QSO they've ever had in, 7 decades of being friends. Now, how is this possible? Well, they were young men in the 50s and met on the air doing CW. As the years went forward, they went from CW to sideband, and they became the best of friends. Ted became a silent key just a couple of days ago. Okay, this is what ham radio is all about. Not the silent key part, obviously, but the friendship. Think about it. How many of us have made friends because of radio? And if we're lucky, we'll have friendships like these guys had. So we note his passing. 98 is not bad. He spent most of his life on the air. We should all be that lucky. I think that's fabulous. He was respected. He was well known. He had a good friend like Bill Maxon, who flew across the pond to give him the honor. Yeah. And he will be remembered for sure. So I wanted to share that with everyone. This is why we do what we do. It's part of why we do what we do.
What do you think, Paul? Are we going to be like this at 98?
Sure, we will.
We better
make it that far.
All right, what a life.
Yeah, and I mean, I made some friends when I started back in the 70s at the club I belonged to, and in recent years have actually, through them seeing me on here and also hearing me on Newsline, a couple of them reached out and said, "Are you the same Paul from the club back in Marissa?" I'm like, yeah. So reconnected there. But I've made some great friends along the way. most recently the Newsline family, and then the 100 Watts family, and it's amazing just how well we all get along. And we at first the only thing we have in common is ham radio, and then you start to learn as you go on other things, other parts of our lives that are different interests that we have, and you learn new things about a person, and they learn things about you. So it really is a fascinating thing. And yeah, there are some people that you never meet in person, some people you only see like once a year at Xenia or wherever, but it's a fun part of the hobby.
Well, thank you. And Karen, if you have to go during story number 2, you do whatever you have to do. And we'll kick it over to Paul. Paul, what do we got going for story number 2 today?
Well, my story is about a radio club in Pollock Pines, California, or in that area. I did a story about them a couple of years back for Newsline. They started a neighborhood radio watch program in Southern California. And what they've done is they got non-hams in the community to understand how important it is to have radio communication in case, because they have a lot of wildfires and things out there, in case regular communication goes out. And they need to be able to have other ways of communicating with each other and with emergency services and that. So they started a group of interested locals using GMRS radios. They got them trained, they got them their licenses, and they taught them how to do a net. And then they stepped back because the guy I was talking to said, we didn't want to be the guys who just came in and said, okay, we're going to do this. But he said, no, the only way it was going to work is to get them interested and get them involved, give them the basics and give them the understanding of how we do this, and then step back and let them figure it out on their own. And it's been very successful. All the people in several neighborhoods all have a radio in their house. They set up a weekly net where they check in to make sure the equipment is still working and that they can talk to each other. And they have done this in a number of communities in Southern California. And in Pollock Pines, they recently had an Earth Day celebration, and they had a big thing in the city, and they talked about various things about the ecology and those sort of things. And the radio group was there as part of it, talking about this and talking about the community activities that they started for these. And it was great because a number of the people that they had gotten involved in this GMRS program came up and said, this is fun, I want to become a ham too. So and it's something to think about in your area. If your area is prone to natural disasters or outages of traditional communications, you might want to communicate with your neighbors and explain that you don't necessarily have to get a ham license, but there are other services. And if you get these fairly inexpensive radios and you get your license, we'll show you how this system works and how you can set this up and how you can do it. And then you can work out your own plan to stay safe and stay in touch.
I think it's high time that we get back to our communities. I don't know what it was. I don't want to blame the internet and all these sorts of things, but we've really gotten away from, in a lot of cases, not all cases, that whole mind your business kind of mentality. But our communities are really important to us when things go wrong, and it seems like it's not a good time then to try to get to know someone. It just seems like, I don't know, coming up almost through a pandemic, I'll say, that it's time. Do you feel that way?
I do. And coming from, I was born and raised in Chicago, but then we moved to Southern Illinois when I was a kid, down in your neck of the woods. And we lived in a small town, and you really knew a lot of the people in the town, and they knew you. And when I moved back up here to Indiana and the Chicago area, my neighborhood is on our side is all condos, on the other side is all townhomes. So that's more or less transient housing, where they're only there generally for a couple of years as an interim between wherever, and they move on to a house. So you don't have necessarily a sense of community in our neighborhood because a lot of the people there aren't there for a long time. But and I think that, I think the internet does play a part of that, in that people don't necessarily have to rely on each other to find out what's going on, how are things, what's going on downtown. You can just go on the websites or Facebook and check that out. So, at the risk of sounding like an old man, it would be nice to have some relationship with your neighbors, so that at least you know who they are when you see them on the street. And setting up the radio thing is one way, and it also puts us in a good light. If we explain, this is part of what we do, and this is how you can do a part of that without going through, if you don't want to go through the whole licensing and studying and all that, if you just are interested in emergency communications or being able to check on your neighbors to make sure they're okay, you can do this.
Yeah, I think it's important, and I don't know. I think we just need to. Maybe it's a change. Maybe it's a societal change, and this sort of thing is a change. I think hams generally are really open to each other and accepting and warm. But the guy down the road here, and I've got a lot of older people who live in this area here, so it's worth checking on them. And they even do email, so even a small reach out now and again might help.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you for sharing that story with us, and I hope that we maybe we can, we can do that. I need to learn more about the system you're talking about. That's my thing. Is like I'm such an HF guy that these smaller things and these family radio systems, I need to know it better.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we go, I'd like to mention again that Amateur Radio Newsline Young Ham of the Year Award nominations are open until the end of May.
58 and below, is it? You can be 58 or 62 and below. When are we going to?
No.
We can't. Okay, 18.
I know. As young as we think.
What a guy.
We may act 12 from time to time, but I don't think we fit.
18 and under.
If you go to our website, arnewsline.org, and go to events, and then you can pull down, you find the Why Hottie tab, and the form you can download to fill out and recommend a young ham for the nomination.
One of the voices of Amateur Radio Newsline, it's Paul, WD9GCO. My thanks to you, Paul. We'll see you again next week. Stay safe.
73.
All right, brother. Take care. All right, we're going to bring our friend in now, Uncle Steve. We can do Uncle Steve, right? That's fair enough. How are you? Let me get you unmuted here. There you go. This is the universal signal from... Nope, not working. Yeah, I got to learn a little bit more about these community radio systems. My wife's grandfather became a really dear friend to me. And a quick little story. He was an old school kind of farmer turned to large... He did many things over his life. He lived to be 91, saw the advent of aviation, the computers in the car, all these sort of, what a great time to be alive. But from 88 to when he passed away at 91, say, 87 to 91, he lost his wife. I lost my father. We met in the garden. He taught me how to garden. This was this great experience. But he also grew up at a time where his family made their own clothes. The farmer down the road grew beef. His family grew vegetables. They would trade. They would make sure this whole area up here where I live today was taken care of through bartering, or just what this service is provided by your family. This is milk and dairy. We do this. And he became a postman. He sheared sheep for extra money. He was a fascinating guy. But those days seem to be so old-fashioned, and this story here, really makes you think, like, do we really know our neighbors? Do you
True.
feel that way? Is it time? Is it time now to get back to knowing our neighbors again?
We've kind of gotten disconnected of our neighbors. We've gotten so enveloped into our lives and now we have Facebook or this. Oh, I'll just stay in touch with my neighbors. But how do you really stay in touch other than you send a Facebook post or a quick email? It's different than standing at the fence line and physically talking with your neighbor.
Yeah.
I mean, my neighbor, unfortunately, who passed away a few years ago, him and I used to have long conversations just standing at the fence line. And he was into his late 80s, unfortunately, when he passed away. but it was he would just tell me stories about his life and growing up and things, and we would just help each other and go back and forth. But yeah, we need to stay connected with our neighbors. We kind of get disconnected real easy because we have all these conveniences and our life is so busy. But and that's the cool part with amateur radio. We still have that connectivity with friends and people. And like what was brought up earlier was with the two gentlemen, they don't see each other, but they've been best of friends over the air. And for me, I have a lot of friends that I only see once a year if we all get together at Xenia. And other than that, it's just on the air and through here through chats. But that's why I like going to Hamfest and some of the other social events that we have in the community here, just to have that FaceTime, that face-to-face. And hopefully as we kind of move through this pandemic, we're going to finally get back to that face-to-face, because we are a social bunch, whether we like it or not. But we like to be talking to each other on the radio, but at the same time be together, breaking bread, having adult beverages or iced tea, whatever.
Old stories and just breaking balls, yes. And all. You hear it on the air. It's a different thing when you're together. It makes it even that much more special. I think our Hamfests and our gatherings are going to be really cool coming up as we get a little bit closer to the end of this pandemic. So yeah, there you go. A couple things to note. We have so much to talk about. I don't know how this show will go. We are almost on an hour already, and there's so much to talk about. We still have a long list of things. There is something. I made a change, Steve. We didn't get to talk about this because you had a week from hell, and I had a bat out of hell week, and it was a hell week. It was one of these weeks where you just went, But
the week started off pretty crazy, but kind of ended on a calmer note.
A better note, yeah. So what I'm doing now is I've changed. I used to be a Patreon guy, and this is where you could set up these different payment options, right? But Patreon, to me, it was always nice, and we have some people who are sustaining members that give a couple $3 a month to get their sustaining member benefit. I just was reading into Patreon a little bit, nothing to slap on people who use it. They got a little bit different, I don't know, mentality, a little censorship happening there is kind of weird, and they make people sign up to have accounts to participate, to support. It's meant to be a service that supports content, really. Support the artists and the content that you enjoy, waka waka, but it makes people sign up for things, and I'm just like, I don't know, and their fees, what they take, can be 5 to 12% of the money. 5% is one thing. 12% is another. When you give me $5 and they take, you know what I mean? So I just felt I'm going to make a move to something different that's a little more, and no one has to give anything, but it will help as we get to sustaining memberships. I'm going to put it up here now and y'all can check it out. This is how easy this is going to be. There's a service called Buy Me a Coffee. Buy Me a Coffee. Nice. So you can go here, right? And I set it up. You can go to the page. I can even share it with you. This isn't a call to action to give me your money. This is to let you know that I'm going to do something different in terms of the way I accept money. If you go to this website, and it's a service, you don't have to sign up for it at all. You could buy me a cup of coffee, right? One time, no commitment at all. And the money comes right to the source you're trying to send it to. There are other content creators and people doing things. There's less hassle. I can set up the membership through there where if you want to set up $3 a month and become that sustaining member, you can do that. And I'm thinking about building other membership levels too. Like maybe you and I want to do a course or something, or a seminar where we actually physically build an antenna, right? And we have people come, and that's it. We do these things. So we can do that easier there. We have other ways that people can give. I just thought Patreon was getting a little further away from what I thought it was when I originally got it. And it asks more of you, the people who were supporting the content, and taking more. And it's just a different model. So look at this. I think this buy me a coffee thing is so simple and easy that you'll see when you get there. I could probably show it. Let me show it to you. So that's what's going on, Steve. There's people out there that are doing cool things. Let me see if I'll pull it up here. So anyway, not to be weird. I don't want to make anybody weird. I just want you to know that I've made a change because I know people have, and I did it at the beginning of the month because it's that way you're not giving your $2-3. You know, you don't have to have that obligation. There's our sustaining membership. And you go there, and it's like a tip jar. I dig it. One time you could do it or not do it ever. Blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
Simple and easy. It's a better way. You know, the grabbing hands of the third party. Good. Patreon's been okay, but I just... Anyway, there you go. So buy me a coffee. This one's getting low. No pitches for it. Look at Steve's out. Look, I'm out. Look, empty.
I still got some here. My thermos is out.
Yeah, this thermos is out, but this one is not. So we'll take that. Anyway, so that's what we'll do. I think I can build some more levels here too. We can. I like the idea of having like seminars, or we could do teaching about emergency communications. We could do things together as a group. It can be supported. We could build antennas together. We could have private whatever. We can bring back meet and greets. And we don't have to feel, we can do these member things and we don't have to feel that we're getting 12% it's a little much. It's too much.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
On a $5 coffee. Come on. No. Or a $5 give to give 12%. It's just silly over time. But to each their own. If that works for you, Patreon, you keep doing it. But with 100 watts in a wire, I'm out of that game now. So how was our chat, Steve?
Oh, the chat was buzzing. It's a lot of it. A lot on the survival side of things. It's
Good.
just kind of the store. Everything kind of took a nice turn into, and people start thinking about get home bags and survival and the water. All this stuff that can also blend into with the portable operations, but.
Exactly.
It was nice. It was a nice blend with our 73 and our portable ops. So I think it was the chat was pretty active.
I have
It
found
was good to see that
people it runs parallel. These are adjacent interests. And so our 73, I am also developing this other stream where we're going to be building a network, if you will, a network. And I know other things exist in this realm. There are radio groups that, you know, this is just, it'll be a 100 watts and wire thing. It'll be a new stream that'll happen here soon. We'll pick the days, but the weather is getting harsher. They've actually extended how many names they pick. NOAA has extended, you know, how they go Adam, Bertha, Charlie, and they've gone through, and I think they've either added 11 or 14 more. They said they're going to be more intense, more often. So I'm going to start streaming on the MCOM side if you're into that. So I'm collecting here on our website. If you go, click on the Hour 73 tab on the website, 100 Watts in a Wire website. You'll see it there. Very simple. If you're into this sort of thing, I'll be looking for correspondence. Say we've got something happening in Puerto Rico, or we've got something happening in Florida or North Carolina, wherever you are. I'd like to have somebody, a ham, who's either there getting ready, someone I can talk to, or if it's past, what it looks like on the ground. And I think we can teach also. We can take that moment to teach, plan, and get prepared for that. So if you're into this lifestyle, this is they just kind of run together. They're parallel interests with preparedness. Radio should be a part of your emergency preparedness thing anyway. I think radio is such an important deal. Check it out and send me your information, and I'll put you on the list for the network of people as I get the stream going. You'll be able to come in, tell us what's happening where you are, and it should be fun. I think
each area has their own, issues. Like along the East Coast and the South, we have the hurricanes that the coastal folks, and then in the Midwest we have tornadoes. Along here on the West Coast, earthquakes is our biggest issues that come up unexpected. plus tsunamis. I mean, the occasional storm that could come to hurricane levels, wind-wise, but they never call it a hurricane.
And there's many kinds of emergencies too.
Yeah,
I mean, even
exactly.
some of our friends up in, not so much in your area right now, but snowstorms happening in springtime. We've got all sorts of things. These faults where I am, there's a big potential disaster right where I am, and I think they call it the Madrid fault.
The Madrid fault.
You know, that's a situation. But there's other emergencies too. There's other things that happen that are not weather related. And I'd like to just have a network of people that we can go to in those areas or somewhere nearby that maybe if it's a path of a storm, what are you doing? You know, we can kind of teach, or it went by. So, check out the website for that information. I don't give information away. You can tell I'm already a little private and protective of the community anyway, but it's more of where are you? What are your resources? What can you use? What kind of radio capabilities? Those sorts of things. So, Steve, we got a couple things we can go back to. I'm going to call an audible here because we got time. Now we're getting into it. Everybody's got to go to the bathroom, I'm sure. But we've got the tune-up coming up. We've got a list of prizes that we could poke through. That's cool, but that's on the website as well. Next week is the 300th episode. The 300. I don't know how this time goes. As Willie Nelson says, ain't it funny how time slips away? 300 episodes next week. I think what I'm going to do is open the door. I'm going to put the key under the mat and bring people in to talk and say hello to us. And and just keep it very casual and celebrate together with the community next week. We also have, what else did I want to do? So we got the prize list, and we've got some more portable options. So what do you think we should do? Should we look at the prizes, or should we go back to what other people are doing for their portable top three? What do you want to do?
Let's go back to portable top three. We were on that
And
subject
so it
earlier.
was.
Let's go. So it is.
And so it was, and so it is. All right, cool. Let's go. If you guys are cool and patient, we're not holding you up. I appreciate you guys coming. If it's your first time here on the channel or in the stream, put new in the chat. I'd love to meet you. I'm Christian. That's Uncle Steve. Everybody's Elmer's. We got some questions to do also. We've got to get to a couple questions.
Yeah.
But let's knock out a few more of these. Here's a
Big dog. I like that.
Here's a big time guy here. Now, he didn't give me just three, but this guy goes up on the summits. We know him as the GOAT. He is the GOAT.
Yes.
And, he's famous, if you will, in the ham radio community for packing up goats and taking them up there. His number one, water. Snacks and food. It's feed your body, fuel your body, stay hydrated. He layers clothes. He's in Denver, so Steve is... He's got a compass. He's got all the essentials and his first aid kit. I love this top three, Steve. I mean, that's
all the essentials for you. Yes, that's take care of number one, and that's yourself.
There it is, guys. Look at that. And I love what he says here. Let's see. Risk always needs to be carefully evaluated. Rely on your gut instinct. Prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. And that's his kit down there. That's his. That's what he takes. Now, he's a summit. This guy's known for going up on summits and activating them at a very aggressive clip. But he doesn't take much, Steve. He's like the Altoid tin guy, does code up there, very light packing. But in terms of top three, right there, that one was hard to beat. First aid, your compass, your food and water. Pretty good stuff.
And he did one thing that no one has talked about, and that's that a risk assessment needs to be evaluated. And it's just like when you're working on a tower or doing anything else. It's you want to assess the risks, whether it's just a simple in your head and or laying it out on a sheet of paper that says, okay, these are the risks, and how do we mitigate them and go from there. And that's an excellent point, Steve. It's that's way to go. And
I like
and
those
in his
top
case,
three frankly.
Yeah, the top 3, because it takes care of himself, because he has his goats, and so if he's not in top shape, then the goats they're on their own, and so he has the responsibility of those animals, and so I think that's a great idea. And the risk assessment, didn't think about it for going out on portable, but man, that is so true, and way to go.
I think that's great. Let's pop over to our friends at POTA, because these guys and gals are out quite a bit, and this is their lifestyle here. Let's go and see what we can figure out, if anything, from what they've provided us. Okay, I made that a little too big. Adult beverages. Mike, always a kidder. Gonna get you, Mike. Yes, of course. Cell phone could be spotty. We got a couple replies underneath there. Thomas, who gave us toilet paper a little bit earlier, is good. We're talking about some of these things that they need when they're out doing parks on the air. So they're talking about ways to spot each other. That's
spot
good.
themselves and things like that, which is great. Radio, battery, wire, table, chairs, shade. Yes. Now we're getting into the heat of things. So
sunscreen.
Shade.
Sunscreen. A bald guy like this, man, burn up quick.
Yeah, I'm
doesn't
already
take long.
feeling here from being out on the tractor the other day. So, yep, sunscreen.
Microphone, your paddle, laptop if you can. Laptop seems sometimes to be like that's such a luxury, but if you can do it, hey, you plan on coming back home, I get it. Headphones, that was a big one that Steve mentioned before we started the show. Laptop again. These are Parks on the Air folks, so this is a good cross section. A watt meter to check the drain on your battery, the keyer. Another computer, fan for the hot van. Water makes the list here with Peter. He's a big activator as well.
Don, bug spray. That's another one. Depending on where you're going, you need to deal with insects
all the time.
Bug repellent.
All the time.
I like that. The grill, charcoal, and
veggie dogs in my case.
There you go.
There's Ben, cable making kit, drink, snacks, extra writing instruments. So there you go. Though this is the community. This is not Steve and I telling you what you need to do. This is the community providing feedback for itself. And usually a lot of the experience comes from getting out there, making some mistakes, refining your kit. So it's valuable to ask the community. And that was the intention today.
And you don't need to reinvent the wheel. I mean, the wheel's already invented. So go and see what other people are doing and learn from their experiences. And unless, you want to learn the hard way. But I kind of like to, learn from others and then make improvements and go from there. And share those things. This is what worked for me. It might not work for you, but here's other options to think about.
And look at the cross section of the answers. I like to look at the things that multiple people are listing. Of course, we mentioned the important ones for your body, the actual fuel for your body, the water, the food, these sorts of things. But getting across to the multi-tool. I mean, a whole show could be devoted to what's your favorite multi-tool. I have mine. I've even got a bigger one than this, but this is the Wave. Not a sponsor, but going through some trial and error. They can be bigger sizes, they can be smaller. It's all about what you want and what you've done. And if you've ever got your hand pinched in one of these, like this one will do, that's one of the ones I've had to just deal with because I like everything else about it. But you can get into a full discussion just on what's your knife. I got nothing like you think I'm kidding. It's a knife guy. I dig knives. I mess around. But, it's one of the, when I mentioned earlier today, it's one of the tools, and these aren't just props for me to grab. I can grab what I've been dealing with a lot is a lot of ibuprofen. With this tooth of mine I've been dealing with, but they're always with me. Steve pulled out a knife out of his pocket. He's only walked 100 yards from his house or whatever it is today, but that's part of his, it's like another thing. Do a whole show on knives, maybe sometime. But cross-reference.
You get up, you stick the cell phone in your pocket, and the knife goes in the other pocket, and it's just one of those.
Do you ever feel naked without it? Like I do. Like I'm like my belt. Yeah. I'm like, oh no, I've forgotten my
Where is
knife. Or what did I do? Where is it? Like, is it? So yeah,
Yeah.
So
People
cross-reference
call
what?
it EDC.
Everyday
And,
carry.
so it's just everyday carry. So
All right, let's take some
Well,
questions
cool.
here. I appreciate
questions, yes.
everybody who's come in today. And given, I wish we could. I really want to encourage everybody to, once the show's post, come back and put in the comments, because all your chat references are great, but they may not stay. They may not be there. Once I cut off the dancing bit and the countdown, we lose the chat. So bring your information back in the comments. That's where it's good. Plus, that helps the show. It helps push us up to let the people at the YouTubes know
thank
that.
you, Todd, for all the good information you've been posting. Todd has just been a wealth of information in the chat there. So thanks for contributing.
All right, good deal. This is the portion of our program where Uncle Steve and I like to take your questions. So we're going to do that. If you have a question, you can go and put a Q in the chat. Just remember, the chat may not live forever, but you could send us your questions. They're compiled from emails, our Facebook and Twitter, all these sorts of things. But that's where the questions come from. Steve does not know what these questions are ahead of time. He does not want to know.
Nope.
So we must always say, if we stump Uncle Steve, you've asked a really good question about how DNA is developed and tested on crime scenes. So if you stump him, but we will say, if we can't give you the answer today, in our experience, we'll go research it a little further. I don't think we'll be thrown for any loops, but let's get started.
Hey, you never know.
Question number 1: what does full quieting mean?
Okay, so full quieting is a term used in FM, so on like 2 meters or UHF repeaters. So it's an FM mode. And what happens is it's the signal. So when you're working a repeater, you look at your radio and you're going to get full scale or S9 or whatever what you're hearing the repeater. It's always the same. The thing that you can convey to the person you're talking to that is accessing the repeater like you, is whether they're noisy into the repeater's receiver. So in FM, if you have your kind of, we'll say your S3 into the repeater's receiver, there's going to be some noise that is going to be mixed in with your audio. So there'll be kind of that white noise or hash in the background. And what full quieting means is that basically the signal is clear. There's no background, no background noise, or if there's, we just hear everything. We can hear the pin drop essentially, and so that's just a way of giving the person you're talking to through a repeater a signal report as far as how they are getting into the repeater. You hear the repeater whether it's full scale or it could be noisy also, but that's a term that's been used for a long time. Full quieting into the repeater's receiver. We don't use it on HF, but normally just in FM. You could do it on simplex too. It's like if you're working somebody on simplex, it's you're full quieting, so which means you've got S9 plus signal.
All right. Here's an interesting one, Steve. Check this out. What sort of ham radio products can be made with a 3D printer?
Everything.
Everything is the answer.
I've enclosures. If you wind your own ballons, you can make the case for that. Is insulators for your antennas, your center sections for a dipole antenna. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things you can make with a 3D printer. I mean, granted, you can't 3D print out an FGP field gate array chip or anything like that, but if you make a little QRP kit that comes on a circuit board or something, you can make an enclosure for that. So it's everything.
You want to know what I heard? I heard some fellas talking just yesterday, and we're talking about emergency communications, disaster relief, and all this sort of stuff with Hour 73 and this conversation today. I heard a couple fellas talking about how they can 3D print shelters, like houses, like assembling. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
how is that possible and why? I mean, it starts all these things with me where people are going to say, you crazy hippie boy. But, I know it's complicated, but we've got people who live in tents in our place, and we have the ability in times of disaster to make fabricated shelters by this sort of technology.
Yeah, you can have a complete kit, basically 3D print Legos, and then assemble your Lego shelter or whatever. So yeah, no, there's all kinds of things you can 3D print. In fact, I remember a story of Bob Heil telling me that when they designed the base for the PR-10, they did everything in 3D with a 3D printer to get the shape and before they went to tooling, because tooling is very expensive. So now you can pre-make things with the 3D printer, and then you go off to tooling to have the tooling made. And that's just one of many things that you can do with a 3D printer. So, but in the ham side, what I've seen is cases for QRP rigs, insulators for simple antennas for your portable antenna. So you're going to build
I love that.
a link dipole or something. You can now make your little insulators and your center section,
awesome.
and for your 20 gauge wire or whatever antenna wire you're using. So it's just the possibilities are endless.
If you're into that 3D printing, put some comments down below the video. Let us know what you're making. And man, I tell Steve all the time, like I just put in an order with Steve yesterday for a 20-meter antenna. This guy makes an antenna like nothing I've seen on the commercial market. And I'm like, yeah, 20 meters, I got a problem out there. Could be a connector, but I'm using an old Ballon. And like you said, those little things, those insulators. So if people are out there making that stuff, let us know, because there's so many little cool projects, and it's a world I don't really understand. But I might be interested in making some stuff, man. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Put your comments below the video. We want to know what you're making with your 3D printer. All right, we got time for one more here. Here's an interesting one. This has to do with the beginning of a net, or maybe during a net, maybe every 30 minutes. And we've heard it done. Stand by for emergency or priority traffic. The question came in just this week. What is really happening at that time?
Well, it kind of goes back to for many years, and it's and so when amateur radio was pretty much predominant communications mode before cell phones and everything, all the conveniences we have today, if you were, say, somewhere and you were stranded, or you were out on a boat and your engine broke down and you're 15 miles offshore or wherever, you always know that there's a net that's going to come. Oh yeah, this net's going to be on at such and such time every day. And at the beginning of that net, they're going to ask for an opening and listen for people that have emergency or priority traffic. And that's kind of kept going along. It's just one of those traditions that it has continued and will always continue. And because if you're out there in the wilderness or wherever you're at and you're in trouble, you kind of have an idea of what nets are at what time of the day they are. And it's like, hey, now when you have a net, you have all these people that are scattered around. Now you have more ears that can hear you. Maybe one person in that whole group of people that is gathering for that net will hear you. The net control might not, but all it needs is one person to hear you and then get that traffic across. So I think it's a good tradition to keep it, and asking at the beginning of a lot of established nets to, stand by for priority or emergency traffic. And that could be that one shot that you have. It's like that person that had that just enough battery life in their cell phone to take that picture and send it out, and that's the other shot. So this is all it's just tradition and continues on today.
I listen to the Maritime net, or the frequency, it's 14300, and sometimes I just like to have some audio on. I don't have to worry about riffraff or anybody saying anything improper when my girls walk in the room, usually on that frequency. And I've listened at times in times of trouble, and it comes up more often than you think. It's really compelling radio when they are trying to help someone. Either it's lost, a lost boat is out on there, or haven't been heard from, and they're passing this traffic. And sometimes they're really aggressive in trying to find someone who's lost. It's been too long. You can feel the energy change for that. They're passing information back and forth. So it's a really interesting place to maybe even hear that. But that pause, like Steve says, is, if you have that traffic, or you're lost, you're in trouble, you've got a problem. And I've heard those calls too, where people have lost direction. They've kind of lost track of the, call it a landline, but where you actually can see where you've gone from, and people get lost. So I listen to that, and I think you can hear that. And then the tradition is on most nets pausing before they take that frequency over to say, is there any emergency? And it might be a throwaway, and maybe it's just a tradition. You kind of wonder how many people are ready to actually serve and act when you're off in a frequency, and it's just a headbangers net. We're just going to get together, and what would you do? Are you ready to serve as you pause for that priority traffic? That's a whole nother discussion. Maybe we can get into that as we go. But thank you for that. That's an important piece. Listen to 14300 sometimes. I think I've got that frequency right. I think that's right.
14300.
Yeah, it's a good one to listen and learn. Sometimes there's nothing going on. Sometimes they're just calling and they'll check in with a guy in a car. I'm like, oh, thanks for coming back to me, buddy. But there are times when
weather info and stuff like that, they're just they're there, and that's another thing is that there's always, and that's what's cool about nets. I mean, a lot of people bag on them. Oh, we got too many nets or this or that. But you know what? If you're in trouble and you need help, you're going to thank having a net there, because at least there's an audience that you can get to, instead of just going out there blindly calling. At least you might have a shot of getting out and getting help that you need.
All right, I want to mention this because we didn't get to it. Next week I'm going to announce a grand prize. It's still in the works. It's pretty close. It'll be one thing or the other thing. And I'll do this real quick before we go. If you go to 100wattsinawire.com, click on the events, you'll see June 11th through the 13th is our 100 Watts in a Wire tune-up. It has all the information you'll need there. I think we have a list of perhaps 11. We have a new prize came in just yesterday, and they're all listed. It is not a contest, friends. We have a point system to keep people honest. We're giving away thousands of dollars, certainly over the years, to people who participate. We've got everything from MFJ's giving us an antenna. Bioenno Power is going to give a battery and the charger for that. Elecraft, first time sponsoring. We welcome them. They're giving an AX1 antenna package. May be very good for you portable folk who like to get out there. Nuts and Volts, again, they're going to give away subscription LDG. Your choice of meters, you got to see these meters, these analog, beautiful meters with colors, and I think I need to put one on the Christmas list for Steve there, because that's your FTDX 101. That's you, right?
Yes, sir.
That's your radio. So, okay, it's on your Christmas list. NI4L makes some very durable antennas, giving away an off-center fed there with some really nice wire. ABR Industries, we didn't get to mention them yesterday, or last week rather, but we remember last year, or it was the fall. It was last year, but it was the fall, just in the fall, for the fallout. They gave away 50 feet, an assembly, and put the winner's name on it. I'm like,
yes,
ooh.
And call sign, yes. Yep,
name
that
and
was
call
so cool.
is a really cool thing, and that's one of those things I just don't know about. Here's a new one from our friend in Wisconsin. He's known to be making these 2-meter, these J-poles, Kilo Bravo 9, Victor Bravo, Romeo antennas.
Nice.
So you can win one of those too if you need a J-pole antenna. Thanks to Michael for donating that. I think just yesterday or the day before. Much appreciated. CQ Magazine's going to give away a 3-year digital subscription. 3 per day, Steve. They're going to give away 3 winners. So we've got lots of prizes, and thinking about bundling some stuff up because it's quite a bit of stuff. So people are going to win. You just need to get out there and be active. The point system, I'll talk about it a little bit. I know we're getting long in the tooth here today, but there's so much to talk about. I need to do another stream after Uncle Steve and I go potty. It's probably the bladder is what controls the length of the show. That's what you need to know.
Exactly.
Last prize on the list for this week, the PowerFilm solar panel, 20-watt foldable.
That
You
is
take it
so
out,
cool.
and that's a very generous list of prizes. We didn't look at them today. We will look at them next week. Next week is show number 300. We will open the door up to you so you can stop in if you're new or if you've been running with us for a long time. It'll be like the old meet and greets. Come by and say hello on our special 300th episode. I don't even know who would stop by, but we'll find out. The point system for the tune-up and the fallout, it's to protect the integrity of those who are out there grinding up contacts and really working hard at it to try and maybe win a prize or just get out there. 1 point for general contacts, 2 points for 100-watt IDs. You would just say, do you have a 100-watt ID? They'll say no, and you're like, no problem. You know it's 1 point. 2 points, there's 4,000 plus 100-watt IDs out there, so there's plenty to work. And then the bonus stations come into play. Steve will be 1, I'll be 1. We'll give you 5 points. Get some skin in the game, as Steve says. And that's the point system. So it's not a contest per se. But, yeah, that's what that's all about. So pretty good list. Next week I will present the grand prize, the standalone prize. It'll be something cool, but you'll have to tune in for that next week. All right. What did we miss?
Join us next week.
Yeah, come
No,
in.
we got it all.
I'm going to leave the key.
Come in and join us. Yeah, and just feel free. We want to see you. We want to chat with you. Thank you for all your support over the years. We really appreciate it.
People are missing the
come
meet
join
and
us.
greet. They say, I want to
Yes.
do the meet and greet. And what are you doing, you big dummy? I want to come see you. But just put on hold. It doesn't mean it's forever. But I know it's time. I think at the 300th episode, I'll leave the key under the mat. It'll be good for people to be either linked into our social media stuff, the Facebook group. Twitter makes me nervous putting the key in the Twitter. It's just there's a great community there too, but it's where I get my information from. And who knows? Facebook feels a little different than Twitter to me in terms of our community. The chat will be a good place. You can guarantee the chat will have the key. And just come up for a quick hello, and we'll just see who's interested. If not, we'll just pack it in and go take a nap. 300. I'm tired. Where
Wow.
my grandfather says, where does the time go? Tomorrow, a question I was going to ask you, it's Mother's Day. So
Mother's Day.
it depends.
Let's take-
Everybody take a break from the net. Is that what you think?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we celebrate Mother's Day and everyone just go take care of your moms, your wives, our mothers in our lives, and let's take a break from it. I know it will it'll keep our spouses and mothers happy.
Maybe
It's
we'll
all
get
about
on the
them.
air. I say we. It could be me. It's raining again today. I'll have my girls. We'll do limited outdoor stuff because it seems to rain on these days. Usually this would be a great garden day. Get out and play. Yesterday was that day. It was better, but windy. I think maybe I will get on the air and operate at some point this weekend. I don't know quite yet, but if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll know. And maybe I'll drag Steve in. It just depends on when
Yeah.
and what's going on. We'll see.
Mama might kick me out of the house and said, "Go out into the shop
Yeah, and
go
he'll
play
sneak
radio for a
out
while."
and he'll headphones on, tune it all up. We'll just see. But tomorrow,
We'll
enjoy
just
your
dumb it
mother.
down.
Enjoy your mother if
Yeah.
you have the privilege to enjoy. If not, your significant other, the mother of your children. You know I'm a mother lover, Steve.
Yep, and
They
all
say
you,
it
all you
differently.
moms, happy Mother's Day, and thank you for all you do for us.
All right, 73 for now, friends. Happy Mother's Day. Take care of yourselves. Look out for each other. And we will be back here next week with episode 300, the grand prize, name, blah, blah, blah. We appreciate you. 73, guys. Take care of yourself.
7-3, everyone.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsandawire.com.